Right, we're going to get going down. And when we get to the share screen, I will work it out. So, ding, 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 round two. We're here again. Hello, thanks for joining. We've got 29 minutes left today, and we're going to talk about AI. It's everywhere. It's not the future. It's right here. But there's a problem at the moment, particularly in the Salesforce ecosystem, and that's getting Salesforce into existing workflows. So we're going to touch on how you can get AI into any point of the case lifecycle or any other object so easily today. So I'll touch on that. So the challenge is, it's not the future, it's here. I've touched on that already. Agent Force alone isn't enough, and I'll go into detail on that in a bit. But the problem we see with traditional AI integration and the Salesforce ecosystem is it requires tons of development and IT resource, creates super long implementation timelines, and often the AI is managed outside of Salesforce, so it's siloed from existing Salesforce workflows. And actually, probably the number one driver is companies, particularly larger companies, who just actually don't know where to start with their AI journey. The conversations are wrong at the moment. They tend to be around what can AI do for me, as opposed to where are our bottlenecks, where are our gaps in our processes, where are we spending time on repetitive tasks. So that needs to shift slightly. And we're going to introduce you to our agentic AI ecosystem today. But just going to highlight our case journey focus below. The huge benefit of our agentic AI system is we can leverage any available AI technology. So you're talking the most advanced. We're not tied to any model, for instance. It's fully autonomous standalone agent. So what do I mean by that? There's no human involvement. There's not. This isn't an assistant model or a co-pilot model. This is agents handing off work autonomously to other agents during the life cycle of the case. The implementation is immediate. When I talk about, in fact, in the next slide, they are ridiculously easy to build and extremely powerful. But also, it's all built natively from within Salesforce, so it integrates seamlessly with your existing workflows. I'm just going to move on. So meet our agentic ecosystem. So I'm going to say the tagline again, but these are quite literally powerful AI agents that really are ridiculously easy to build. No code. This is all built through natural language. And I want to introduce the concept of the case conductor. So at Ortoo, we've always been experts at moving work around. So that might be a case, it might be a lead on the sales side, or an email to the right place in Salesforce. But what we've been able to do, and what we can bring you today, is moving agents around autonomously. So that's the concept of this case conductor, who really controls the workflow of the case. I'm going to introduce a few of our agents here. So at the early life cycle of a case, for instance, you might have the classification and triage agent, and agents can call each other as well. So we don't just need the case conductor. So for instance, if I'll show you a use case shortly. If a unstructured email or communication via Teams, Slack, WhatsApp, email, whatever that looks like, comes in, we can structure that piece of communication. And once we've classified it, we can then triage that case for urgency and prioritize. But something I should call out is the supervisor agent. So it's constantly on, looking for a case that might be off track, an action missed, a step missed. And it can trigger agents to do what they need to do if they've noticed something off track. And at the bottom there, the solve agent. And the solve agent can actually troubleshoot or provide a solution and recommendations at any point of the case lifecycle. It's called in when we have enough information, when we recognize the problem. Let's call in the solve agent to execute. So it really is a super powerful agentic ecosystem that is quite literally available to you today. We're going to touch on one of our large European customers, actually, one of the early agentic adopters at Ortoo. So I'm just explaining the story here. So they buy my cars a bit like the UK, so we buy any car, or cars.com, another customer of ours over in the States. And they receive inquiries and requests from 50 different dealerships. Each dealership is handing over information in a completely different format. So we had and again, multilingual support. So we're talking about different languages across the board as well. So this information is coming in completely different formats. It's in different languages, totally unstructured. And what we're allowing them to do is validate that data and classify that data in a single step. So, for instance, we can turn that data into real fields, so 50 to 100 fields in a single step into your Salesforce field. So let's take a case as an example. Email comes in, forms come in, they are triaged, they're classified. We are passing that information and validating that information in a single step in Salesforce, lastly into Salesforce fields. So quite literally, this is happening now. The results they're getting is they're turning this around 85% faster. There's no human involvement. This was a manual job. This was a manual triage, real human time, full-time job, in fact, just constantly triaging these requests so they could go to the right person at the right time. We are going to, let's see if Darren can share his screen. We had a few tech issues, but I'm going to hand over to Darren now. And we're going to take a look, basically. We're going to take a look at how easy it is to A, build these agents, but B, how powerful they are as well in the life cycle of the case. Over to you, Darren, if you can share your screen.
Okay, I think I am, but it doesn't look like it. Can you see my screen? Okay, maybe it's coming. I think it's very slow. Okay.
Hang on, Darren, it's not quite there yet. It's coming through. It just says scene 1. It's a black screen at the moment.
Okay, I'll keep talking because I'm doing for mine. Hopefully it will catch up. But thanks, Aaron. Yeah. So what we're going to look at when you do catch up with the screen is exactly what Aaron spoke about. What we're doing here, we are using QSign as that orchestrator. So those customers or people who are familiar with QSign will be very familiar with the concept of QSign. And the reason it's a very powerful orchestrator is that QSign is fantastic at picking cases at any point in that life cycle. And exactly as Aaron described, the power of the orchestration is being able to do this autonomously and have a system running in the background. QSign is running continually. So it's continually looking for opportunities to execute agents, execute these autonomous agents. So we won't have time in this demo to drill into the details, but what we can see at a very high level here, we can see a number of assignment groups. And again, those who are familiar with QSign will understand what an assignment group is doing. But at a very high level, each assignment group is looking for a case in a particular state, and it's calling an agent. Exactly as Aaron described, we've got those 4 agents: the triaging, the classification, the solution, and the supervise. I'll come to assign in a second. Okay, so what is an agent? Here are the agents that we're talking about, and exactly as Aaron described, these are super easy, ridiculously easy to create. But let me just open one just as a matter of course. So an agent, again, at a very high level, it's a prompt, which I'm sure many people are familiar with. Aaron already described, we are not model dependent. We can work with any LLM, and the structure is exactly the same. You have the prompt. You have context that you're asking the prompt to return. And again, because this is in Salesforce, it can be very specific. I wanted it to return text. I wanted to return pick list values. So these values can be used immediately within Salesforce. So as you saw that flow there, this agent is working on a case. These are the information I want from that case to be populated into my. These are the fields I want populating in my case. I provide context, so every time I run that prompt, what information am I going to be working on? And again, because it's within QSign, I can provide any field on the case, any field related to the case. The key thing, what makes an agent different to a prompt, are functions. So this is now a prompt allows us to ask an LLM to create something, to give me a description of something with a function. Now I can ask it to do stuff, and that this function is the stuff it can do. And quite literally, these functions exist within Salesforce. They can be anything. Anything you do within Salesforce can be made into a function. These have been expanded massively, as Aaron described. We use the very latest, so our functions now can use MCP, they can use file searches, they can use the response engines. So basically, as the LLM gets better, the functions can develop. So just stress again, these functions can be anything within Salesforce. And when I build it or when I create a function, I describe the function so that the prompt knows when to use it. Again, that's a decision of the prompt. It's not hard coded anymore. You basically tell the prompt, like for example, in this situation, this is a triage agent. I'm going to say, okay, go check the latest email, and I'm going to tell it how to get that latest email. So I tell it what this function does and what parameters. What does this function need to work? And that's all I tell it. And the prompt itself, the LLM itself, can work with that. Can then decide, okay, in this case, I know I've got to go and get the latest emails. I know that this is a function that can now get that latest emails. I know I need to pass it the record ID, and it will execute it. So it really is a very, very powerful way and a very easy way in which I can build my prompts, turning them into agents by giving them the ability to work. And that ability to work can be expanded to any depth that you need. Functions can be agents themselves. Aaron already described that. So you can imagine this scenario. Maybe this get latest email from a case is another agent. You can do that level of depth. So you can really build a lot of intelligence by keeping your orchestration very, very simple and building your intelligence in the functions themselves. So those are the functions. So what I'll do, I'll show it running. I've got to time this correctly because it does run in the background, but I will show it running so we see a case going through the process. I'm going to create a case. I'll just send in a case to be created, and what's going to happen now? That case is going to be created. The new case is now created. And if you remember the flow was basically the first step is just to triage the case. So what I'm going to be doing, what the agent is going to be doing, it's in that first step. The agent is going to be looking at the email. The email is all stored, all kept against the case. It's going to be looking at that email, and then it's going to do certain things. It's going to extract from that email the subject, the description, the severity, etc. So again, what's happening is you've got QSI that's recognizing a case is in this state. Case is in the state that needs triaging. What do you want to do with it? Okay, I wanted to call the agent for the triaging, and if my timing is right, there we are. So what's happened? It's gone through the first phase. If you were quick, you would have seen that the status has changed, and we've now got a description. We've got a subject and we've got a severity. That was all taken in that single step. That single prompt did that action for me. So again, you can imagine I can add whatever level of sophistication there, as Aaron described in his example. It may have been a translation. That email coming, it may have been in French. I want it in English. That does in a single step. That agent is working away and completes that information in that single step. The next step after triaging was the classification. So what the classification is going to do is going to say, okay, now I understand that the case needs classifying. I'm going to give it a classification. And the reason why that classification is important is because we are building up to an assignment. And the better your case is classified, the more information I have about that case, the better my assignment can be. Okay, so hopefully I've spoken enough that the classification is now done. So it's classified now, and as I mentioned before, what the key thing in here is that the classification was a pick list value. So it came back, it won't just give me any classification, it's going to give me a pick list value, and that's the value I'm going to be using in my QAssign to assign that particular case. Okay, so that tight integration with the flow, tight integration with your existing flow of a case, so its life cycle is all there, and it's all just enhanced with the presence of AI. I spoke a little bit too long, and it did also do the solution as well. It went all of the way through to do a solution. So now it's at the point where it's got a recommended solution. The solution in this particular example, it checks a knowledge base, checks the previous any previous similar cases, and it comes up with a recommended solution and documents a solution. So now, when it comes to assignment, again, if I've corrected, so now when it's been assigned, now it's now been assigned to Adam. Now Adam has all of the information he needs. Right? He's got the sentiment, he's got the recommended solution. Obviously, you could even email back the solution. You can do, as I mentioned, those actions could have emailed the customer directly, so even given less for Adam to do at the end. But that just shows you those 3 or 4 steps about managing the life cycle through those phases and calling the agent at the right time. I do want to pause for a second and talk about the last agent, which is a supervisor agent. If you remember Aaron's description, we've got this phase, this supervise phase. And I think this really does show the power of agents, the power of QAssign, and the power of the orchestration. Basically, as I mentioned before, QAssign is running continually looking for cases. So it's running 7x24, constantly looking for particular cases. And in the past, we could do supervise. We can do things like, is a case going to close to violate its SLA, and that would be hard coded. Is it 15 minutes, or is it has a case passed its next action date? There were specific things I could look for, and if I found it, then I could take action. Now with an agent, now we've got that running all of the time, and the power of the agent means that I can go far beyond just a simple check for 1 or 2 variables. So if I look at the supervise agent, this is a supervise agent that gets called. So now, same thing. My prompt is basically the same: act as a human, and check, is this case on or off track. But the big difference here, first thing is I can reply on or off track, and I can give a justification. I can ask it, is it on track, but why? But the key thing here, I can give it all the contents of the case. Right, so now it's not just making a decision based on next action date or create date or severity. It will make a decision based on everything. So this, together with information that I can give to the agent about my guidance, my tone, I can instruct through the prompts and through the files. This is how a case should be managed. So I can do things like, does the last email match the sentiment in the tone I want it matched? So you can really put as much intelligence as you want in here. And again, mixed with functions, I can go through and do many different things. I could maybe check previous cases. Has this case been dealt with before? Are you referencing that case correctly from previous cases? It really is replacing a human, but it's replacing a human to a massive level, because it's running 7x24. In the past, maybe your supervisor would select 2 or 3 cases at random 4 or 5 times a day. Now you're doing it all the time on every case, and it's going to run. It's going to extract that information. It's going to see, is this case on or off track, and it's going to give a reason why. So if I just jump back to the case, and in this demo, I asked it to do a review straight away. I mean, in reality, you would maybe wait a little while, but basically you can see here, it's deemed that this is off track, and it said why. It'll give a reason why it's off track. It has in this case also done a notification it's off track. But what's more, this reason why can be fed back into the model to say, okay, look, this reason's off track because the sentiment was wrong. So now I can put that back into the model. So now during my classification phase or my triage phase, I can go back and say, check the next action date. So it continually learns. So I could talk a while on this one, but it really is, for me, a fantastic example of having an automatic agent doing something a human can do, doing it all of the time, but more importantly, learning, constantly learning. It's making an assumption. That assumption can be immediately fed back into the system to say, okay, look, this is just one example. The sentiment is not right. Okay, so what do I need to do to fix the sentiment? Okay, think about what my life cycle phase. When should sentiment have been considered? Okay, that should have been considered maybe in the classification phase. Okay, now let's look at the classification agent to improve the agent. Okay, so hopefully you got an idea of, first of all, how simple it is to build, but also the power of having the ability to create these agents that can be as deep as you want them to be. As you learn more, as you get more features, for example, as maybe you're adding MCP services to do a particular thing, you can add them very easily onto the agent, make the agent that bit more intelligent, but your flow, your orchestration is always managed. So as I mentioned, it's really simple, and you could pick any one of these agents today and deploy that one agent, like you saw in that example. The example was only really using the triage agent, and that in itself brings a lot of value. So you have the breadth to say, okay, where in my life cycle do I want to increase it, add an agent, add this knowledge, but how deep do I want to go there? And you can go in any direction, and any of those directions really does return value almost immediately. All right, Aaron, back to you, hopefully, with the screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, we should be uploading. Here we go. Guys, you have no idea how close this came to not happening today. We're moving back to our old webinar provider, I think, after this. But hey, look, I just wanted to, I guess, leave you with a bit of a call to action potentially. It might have been quite thought-provoking, but the key takeaway here is the conversation really has to change around what can AI do for us, to where are our gaps in our processes, what are the bottlenecks, where are the repetitive tasks that I spoke about, and we're here to have a conversation around those. There is a little QR code at the bottom, and you can book a tailored AI consultation with our experts. Basically, this is what we do. We're ready to chat, so I will leave you with that. And the only other thing I will note is that this is part one of actually a 5-part webinar series, and you'll be hearing about what we've got next. So next will be case comms at scale with our partner Document. So yeah, we'll be sending some invites out for that in due course. Whether that will be on Vimeo or not is another question. But I appreciate your patience, particularly for our first go at this on Monday. And yeah, I hope this has been thought-provoking. We're here to chat. So thank you very much, everyone. And you've got some time back as well.
Is there any questions, Aaron? Do we have time for questions? Sorry, was there...
We've got plenty of time for questions, yeah. If they're firing in, then let's go with it. Are there any questions at all? I've started the Q&A system session. I've just found that now. So if there are any questions at all, please hang in there.
I did get one separately from what was it? Basically, is it available? Is it available now? I mean, absolutely. What we saw in the demo, it's absolutely available now. As you saw with Aaron, we have customers using those certain agents now, have been for quite a while, and that, all of the features are available now. And what's more is as the features get released from the from the providers like GPT or Gemini, we're incorporating those all of the time, because the whole AI journey, the whole process and the power is evolving very quickly, and we are really being as absolutely dynamic as we possibly can. So yes, everything that you saw today is available now, and keep watching the space, because as features get added, we just bring them in straight away.
There's a couple of questions actually. One here, does it integrate with omnichannel? Absolutely. Like Darren, you can take this, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the omnichannel piece is the assignment piece. We can work with omnichannel, where you saw in the demo, the assignment was just made by changing the owner. Absolutely. If we decide that a case should be assigned to an agent, we can pass that to omnichannel and they will assign it. And we really feel like we enhance omnichannel, because your omnichannel configuration remains exactly the same. But now what we're doing is we're giving the cases that much more information. So your omnichannel presentation to the agent at the end is that much more powerful. And the supervisor, the reassignment, that works absolutely with omnichannel. I mean, the monitoring of the cases, absolutely with omnichannel. So you could introduce a supervisor into an omnichannel configuration today, and then have QSign, have the agent supervising omnichannel cases, even if they've been assigned through omnichannel. Absolutely.
Yeah. Another question we've got around Agent Force, Darren.
Similar.
How does this work, Agent Force?
Yeah, similar. The functions that you saw there they can be called by Agentforce. Unfortunately, at the moment, Agentforce doesn't allow you to call their functions, so it's a bit. Hopefully, someday they will, and then you'll be able to completely integrate those functions from Agentforce. But absolutely, today you can have an Agentforce agent calling those functions that you saw me doing there. So that triage, for example. I mean, obviously, the big difference there is with Agentforce, it's driven by a person, so it's not automated. But absolutely, the scenario could be, let's say, with the let's say the classification agent that you saw. You could have that classification agent being called by Agentforce. So Agentforce chat, at some point you could say, okay, please classify this case. So absolutely, it works both ways. We keep a very close eye on Agentforce, and as they're developing, we develop alongside them and fill those gaps. But the big difference, as you saw there, we're autonomous, and it's that orchestration that really is a part.
Yeah, and there's a question. I can take this one. Is there additional cost to use the AI features? I'm assuming that's from a customer, existing customer already, and it depends what plan you're on. It could be standard, premium, or enterprise. The AI features come in at a premium plan, and they're all available from premium and enterprise plans. So whoever that is, if you want to reach out to us one-to-one, we'll be keen to have a chat about that. All right. Any other, I guess, final questions? But as I said, we're keen to, if you're intrigued, this is our demo org. We would love to get use case specific and problem specific. So if you do want to have a chat with us, you can scan us or just please email us, and we're here. All right. Okay. I think we can wrap there, Darren. Cool.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All the best. Bye-bye.